today's video is something quite disgusting that if you've been through this, once you figure it out, it's something you wish you could unlearn. Truly.
Some of my first memories of my childhood were of my mother telling me that my father didn't love me.
I felt closest to my mom when we were talking crap about my dad.
If I rejected my dad, I felt like I was getting my mom's approval.
I questioned, do I really know this person? Are they actually who my alienators said they were?
I had this overwhelming sense of having to protect my mom.
In her mind, she truly believes everything she's saying, that my dad was a terrible person all the time.
And I did start asking questions, and I did want to fact check.
Hi, and welcome back to the Anti-Alienation Project. I'm Maddie, and I talk about all things related to parental alienation here on my project. Last year, I figured out the truth that I had been alienated from my dad by my mom for 20 years, and since then, I've been passionate about exposing this form of abuse and exposing alienators. A shout out to a targeted parent named Frederick, who gave me the suggestion to do. Disclaimer, I'm not a professional, I'm just someone with the 20 years of lived experience. Now, today we're going to talk about something pretty disgusting. You might have heard of this before, but I'm going to talk about it in terms of parental alienation. So what is it that we're discussing today that's controversial and demented? Well, it's called emotional incest. So let's get into it. I can't remember exactly when I learned about the term emotional incest. I do remember the physical reaction I had upon reading all about it and realizing that this had happened to me. It was disgusting. Particularly the word incest. It's something that, of course, you do not want to be associated with. It's disgusting. I remember learning that children who go through emotional incest, studies report that the effects on the children are similar to actual incest. So let's get into it. This is by Psych Central, and they define emotional incest here as when a parent turns to their child for the emotional intimacy a romantic partner should provide. And that's exactly what I went through. That's also what my other siblings are currently going through. It's also called covert incest, and here they explain that it's closely related to the concept of enmeshment and parentification. Two things which I've talked about before here on my channel as vehicles for alienators to trap their children in the lies. If you don't know what enmeshment is, it's basically a lack of boundaries, no boundaries. It involves relationships often in a family where they consider themselves more of a shared unit rather than individuals with their own values, beliefs, and personalities. Parentification, that's something that I have firsthand knowledge of for sure, which is basically when the child, everything is upside down and the parent doesn't really take care of the child so much as the child is taking care of the parent. This can involve their emotional needs, physical needs. I did a whole video on this. This article says, while similar to these concepts, emotional incest differs in that it specifically describes the relationship between a child and their parent or primary caregiver and doesn't include siblings or extended family. And rather taking on the emotional role of parent, children take on the role of partner. Disgusting. It's not known yet how common emotional incest is. It's even possible to grow up without realizing you've experienced it. I realized I experienced it about 2 years ago. Now, what I didn't know about, which this article talks about, is emotional incest syndrome. This is new to me, and as it states from the get-go, emotional incest syndrome is not a diagnosis in the DSM yet. Instead, covert incest is a phenomenon that was named in the 1980s. Researchers have even developed a childhood emotional incest scale to help people understand if they've experienced it. So this is basically your parent treating you as if you are their romantic partner in every way except for sexually. This childhood emotional incest scale, CEIS, is connected to childhood emotional abuse and neglect. The CEIS involves two key factors: a surrogate spouse, which is the child, and an unsatisfactory childhood. It points out that when you experience emotional incest, you feel pressured to play the emotional role of a partner to your parent, and as a result, you may miss out on key parts of childhood, such as friendships with kids your own age. And I can say that's absolutely true. Of course, emotional incest often takes place when a parent lacks their own emotional support system, like their partner or their spouse, and they might feel isolated and not sure how to find constructive outlets for difficult emotions. It even offers a few common triggers for emotional incest, and just as you might guess, the first one is separation or divorce. In addition to that, we also have grief and loss, infidelity, emotional unavailability, domestic violence, attachment trauma, fear of abandonment, or personality disorders. Wow, all of this sounds really familiar to me. It also points out that children who experience emotional incest may also expect their own child to play the same emotional role that they did with their parent, and in that way this can be a learned behavior. Here are some signs and symptoms of emotional incest, and I'm going to go through them, and I might talk about how they relate to parental alienation. Emotional incest can look like the following: crying and expecting your child to offer comfort. Yeah, this is true, and in the case of parental alienation, the alienator is often crying or upset because of the other parent, so when the child comforts the parent who's upset, naturally the child feels irritated at the other parent or mad at the other parent for making their alienator upset. Divulging deep or intimate secrets, yes, like talking about the court case details or talking about alleged abuse that they've experienced at the hands of your other parent. All of these can definitely solidify the alienation. 3, requiring one-on-one time with your child while discouraging friendships with peers. That's something interesting that I haven't thought about before, but that's absolutely true. It was very hard for me to maintain friendships because it all depended on whether or not my alienating parent approved of the friends. And the one-on-one time too, I'm not sure how this goes for households where all the children are alienated, but since I was the only child targeted in my family, it was so common to have this special one-on-one time with my mom. And it was when she got most excited talking bad about my dad, and that's when all the lies and the hatred was really poured into me. 4, showing jealousy when your child spent times away from you. Whoa. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Whether I was gonna go with my dad or whether I was gonna spend time with friends, no matter what, she would pretend to be sad, or maybe she really was sad if I ever chose to do something with someone else instead of with her. Always. And I would say this is something that is done to my brothers even more than me. I wonder what role gender has to play with it, because I can see certainly 1 or 2 of my brothers as being really made to play that romantic partner role, and it's sick. 5, sharing responsibility for adult decisions such as finances, employment, or where to live. There were definitely times where I was part of the decision-making processes where it should have been left up to the adults, like where to go to school, for example. 6, expecting compliments or praise from your child. Oh my gosh. This is huge. This is so big, but here's the thing. I always fought against all of this. I did not give her what she wanted, where my brothers, especially I would say 2 out of the 4, definitely have and continue to. When they're around her, they're like treating her like a little kid almost, complimenting her, like hugging her, and just treating her like she's so extremely fragile and trying to make her happy. So I would say that my brothers have definitely been put in a situation more than me with the emotional incest, but I can see it all clear as day. As the article states, while it doesn't involve explicit sex, emotional incest sometimes enters sexual territory. Parents might... I'm kind of scared to read this. The lack of boundaries with the enmeshment for me growing up was always so uncomfortable. It wasn't sexual, but there were definitely just no boundaries and no consideration for me saying no. So what it says here is, I guess it's 5 things. Parents might talk about their own sexual encounters. Disgusting. Spend time with their child while nude. Invade their child's privacy. Yes, 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 yes. Comment on their child's body in sexual ways. I don't really know if I've experienced that personally. Take their child out on dates. I don't know. Additionally, you might show some of the following signs if you are enmeshed with your caregiver as a child. Ignoring your own needs in favor of your parents' needs. Yeah, yep. Missing out on child-appropriate activities. Feeling responsible for the emotions of others. Yep. People-pleasing behaviors. Trouble saying no. Yep. Alternating feelings of love and hatred for your parent. It says emotionally incestuous relationships create a lack of safety and warmth in the parent-child relationship. And that sums up my relationship with my mom. The lack of safety and warmth. Mental health effects on the child. All of these that I'm reading through, glancing through right now, are very similar to the effects of parental alienation, oddly enough. So we have addictions or compulsive behaviors involving substances, food, or sex. So that could be sexual addictions, alcohol, drug addictions, or eating disorders. Disconnection from your own needs. And of course, because you're so focused on your parents' needs that you don't even consider your own needs, or you're not taught how to consider your own needs either. Trouble with intimacy or vulnerability in adult relationships. Yeah, this is something that I've definitely struggled with. Trust issues, feeling really awkward in moments of vulnerability, anxiety, depression, PTSD, dissatisfaction with life, difficulty separating from parents in adulthood, or trouble establishing your own identity. Then we get to the treatment. How do we treat this? It would be much better if we could prevent it from happening in the first place. Because along the way, certainly people have observed how strange it is when a child is in a relationship that's emotionally incestual with their parent. Surely some people have seen the signs. Surely some people could have stepped in, right? Well, yeah, but why rock the boat, I guess? Maybe they're scared of the alienator, but I guess my message is just that if you do see anything going on that is like this, you need to speak up. The treatment, from what I'm seeing, doesn't look promising. It says practice setting boundaries, talk with a therapist, try inner child healing, find your support network, journaling. Like, really? That's all you got? Jeez. What kind of parent would feel good about their child taking care of them emotionally? And what kind of parent would allow their child to be a stand-in for a romantic partner? I'm really disturbed by this. And I think just connected to society at large, this is another example of why psychological abuse needs to be considered severe. If emotional incest can leave the same detrimental effects on a child as actual incest, why would CPS, cops, why wouldn't anybody step in if they notice signs of emotional incest going on? It's a question to ask. To anyone watching this, if you think you've been through emotional incest, please reach out to a therapist who's knowledgeable in either childhood trauma, narcissistic abuse, or psychological child abuse. If you suspect that your child is going through emotional incest, please take the necessary steps to help them, whatever you think that may be. That's all for this video. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you for watching, as always. I'll talk to you next time.